Okay, so before we start talking about cube roots, we're going to review square roots. And remember that this symbol is called a radical, and inside is usually a number. And so when we are trying to find the square root of 4, a way to visualize this would be to draw a square made up of 4 squares. So here we have the length of one side, which is 2, and the length of this side, which is 2. So here we know that 2 times 2 equals 4, or 2 squared equals 4, and that is the square root of 4. So 2 is the square root of 4. We can do the same thing with the square root of 9. We can use this square made up of 9 smaller squares and find out the length of one side, which is 1, 2, 3, to find the square root of 9, which is 3. We're just looking for a number that we can multiply times itself to get the number inside the radical, which happens to be 9. So now, to talk about cube roots, think about square roots. Squares, we were dealing with squares, and now we have cube roots, so we're going to be working with cubes, which is the three-dimensional shape of a square. So squares are two-dimensional. For those of you in art class, I'm sure you talk about the dimensions. And cubes are three-dimensional. So that means when you see a cube root, we're going to have the cube root of 8, for example. It's going to have this little 3 right here. So that's when we know that we're doing with cube root. So we've talked about the cube root of 8 before in class, and something, basically what you're going to find is a number that you can multiply times itself 3 times. That's what that little 3 tells us. So in class we've talked about the answer before. We've done a couple examples. So 2 times 2 is 4. And if we multiply 4 times 2, we have 8. So we're multiplying 2 times itself 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to try another one. Alright, so if I find the cube roots of 27, we're looking for a number that we can multiply times itself 3 times. So the answer would be 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Another example would be the cube root of 64. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 would be 64. I'm going to make another video on how to find these in your calculator. But this is just, I wanted to kind of go through in a visual, and if you were to make a cube of 64 smaller cubes, each dimension would be 4 cubes. So the length, the width, and the height would all be 4 cubes tall. Same with a cube made of 27 smaller cubes. Your length, your width, and your height would all be 3 cubes